Hey, everybody. Michelle is here on the evening on the West Coast. And I thought I'd come on through on this evening and kind of share some things that's on my mind while I'm thinking about it. My day was pretty kind of busy trying to figure out stuff. You know, it's always something. And that's what I like about my life, is there's always something to do. Oh, yes, and this is what I want to talk about. Again, something about the interpersonal relationships that may, kind of trigger some things for people or give you some insight, if you choose to accept it. I know for a lot of people, it is important that they develop interpersonal relationships with people, regardless of whether it's for intimacy, whether it's for platonic relationships, this or that and the other. And I know a lot of people are having difficult times getting that going, right? Well, I just wanted to offer some insight and some information if you choose to. I told you that the main culprit to why we are having issues with our interpersonal relationship is because we're all on top of each other. There's so many of us. And I know a lot of people get really nervous when you say there's a lot of people. That we have a large population of people. Okay, consider that or not. But think about all the toys and all the equipment and all the merchandise and all the material things that we have. I told you we have a issue in every city when you see trash everywhere. Okay, trash in certain areas, of course, and the inability to know what to do with all the waste. We have plastic everywhere, where plastic is now in we consume plastic. I mean, it's just when I think about it, it's like, wow. We consume plastic in our drinking water, in the foods we eat. I mean, there's an issue, and I know a lot of people know that, but the thing that I think what's bothering people and what's disturbing people is they don't know what to do. They have no idea what to do and how to resolve this. And if someone comes forward and say, hey, you need to stop having babies, or you need to, stop having babies, right? Take measures to stop women from having babies, biological women from having babies. And that's gonna touch. I know that's gonna touch a nerve and cause a firestorm, because nobody wants to hear that, and that's fine. I'm not going to go into it too much, because there's nothing I can do. That's not a goddamn thing I can do about the fact that we are overpopulated with people and their toys and their equipment and their merchandise and their materialism. Not to mention all the buildings, and on top of that, we're drilling inside of the earth. Removing resources that should not have been touched for millions and millions of years to come. So I just want people to imagine it and consider it. Have some fantasy about it. Imagine having a rock that has all the elements of a planet, and what happens over time to that rock when you keep chipping at it, and chipping at it. Eventually it crumbles. So I'll stay off of that and come back to that every now and then. I know, like I said, I know it's a hot button. It's a hot ticket item to say anything about the overpopulation of people. They get in a rage about it, and I don't go around telling people anything about what they need to do. That's going to be a choice that everybody's going to have to face, one way or another. And to consider, and not to mention all the animals we have. I'm not saying animals that we need to consume, but domestic animals, the overbreeding of animals, the overbreeding of pets. It's massive. Consider it. Let your consciousness and let your, you consider it, contemplate, cultivate, properly meditate, but don't ruminate, and see what you come up with. What do you see? What do you sense here? Do you think we're overpopulated with people? And their building, and their toys and equipment and all the other materialism that comes with it? Ask that question. And don't be surprised what you hear. Don't disregard what you hear. If you say no, okay. If you say yes, okay. Okay? So I won't talk about it no more right now. I want to come in and say how important it is that, you know, that if you can, you know, back in the day, I don't know if I said anything about this, because I've met a lot of people over the course of my life. I met a lot. So there was no shortage of me meeting people. That wasn't necessarily the issue. It was just a type of it was just a type of people, and the fact that, you know, whether we were aligned or not. In most cases, we were not. We, you know, in other words, they had a certain place in my life during the time I was developing myself. You know, once when I came out, you know, because I was not going to be married. I know that was pushed on a lot of women. Oh, you need to be married. You need to have kids. Well, I know what would have happened if I had done that. I would have had a divorce right away. I know that from everyone. You know, there would have been a divorce. Just being honest about that. But I know that there is some value in meeting people in groups that are like-minded. To me, that's always been a value. Now, whether we hook up or we come together as a couple, we come together as friends, we come together as associates, sometimes business partnership can come out of that. But groups are important. Now, back in the day, they used to call it networking. I put a video out about this too a while ago. They used to call it networking. You remember when we would go out and meet up at certain places to greet each other? They used to call it First Fridays. I remember First Fridays, you know, because I've always had that entrepreneur state of mind. I always knew that I would be either a one-man show or a small man show. In other words, I would have just a small member of people around me as I do my entrepreneurship. I thought I was going to be writing books, but I have a permanent, since I have a permanent writer's block, and I don't have really any desire to be writing, but I can speak, you know, that's just as powerful, and someone can always translate or transmit what I'm saying and put it into a book if they choose to. So I have all that kind of stuff in the works, you know, as to how I'm going to help people. But groups, like I said, groups do matter, because you can meet up with like-minded people, you know, you can, you know, but the thing is how much, you know, you have to understand that with groups, sometimes, you know, as they're growing, people start grouping off. That happens too, where, you know, where, say for example, there's 100 people in a group. Well, maybe five of them will kind of group off together, and another 5, and then it increases to 20, and then it, you know, so people do group off and become, because they kind of resonate with others in a group to where they can start their own group and then do their own thing. So the larger you are, the more likely that's going to happen. And I know a lot of people have their own reasons as to why they develop groups. And I have no problem and no issue with someone wanting to sell their products. I mean, what better place to do it? Okay, to sell your products. There's nothing wrong with selling your products. And we all know that if you're a small entrepreneur type. The issue is the overconsumption of it. And it being thrown in our face, and telling us we need this, we need this, we need this. And that's usually done by the people in the pyramids. We know that. Where they have this massive amount of resources where they can just, you know, bang on, you know, just keep harassing you to buy their products. Okay. But I like the small business-minded individual, because usually, they just want to, well, I'll speak for myself. I'm not looking to make $1 billion. Okay, that's not what I'm looking to do. If I was making $1 billion, I would give most of it away. Okay, I know what I need to provide for myself, and it's not seeped in a lot of materialism. You know, like toys. Now, when it comes to food, now yes, I love to have fine dining, tasting all types of foods from all cultures, from all walks of life. I enjoy that. I enjoy some of the natural things that, that a lot of us we're losing, like the outdoors and enjoying the outdoors, enjoying nature and this and that and the other. And I always knew that because I came from a big family, I knew that I would be hanging out with small number of people. It may be me and my significant other, and that's it. I knew I wasn't going to have any kids. So I kind of knew what I was up against and what I was planning to do with my life, even back in my 20s and 30s, actually. Once I had gone into counseling in my 20s, early 20s, and got a clear perspective on my life, I knew what I was going to do. I did not want any children, okay? Maybe every now and then it'll come in my mind, but I knew, no, that's not what I want. And I knew I was going to have a smaller amount of people around me, and I was going to be okay with that. And I knew that if I had to spend a lot of time by myself, I knew for a fact that I was going to be okay with that. Because what I started to do before I moved out of my house, moved out of my parents' house, is just to get away from the crowds. I used to go to the movies by myself and enjoyed it, because I wasn't by myself, of course, but I used to take myself to the movies without any. I used to take some of my little young relatives, but then I got to a point where I used to like doing that to myself. It's like sitting in people were there, of course, but just imagine sitting there and just watching a movie and not being necessarily interrupted. In our household, it just got a bit much during the holidays because of the drinking. And I won't say much more about that. But, I started to develop my own comfort zone in my 20s, 30s. I don't have an issue being alone. Not at all. And like I said, it's possibly because I came from a household full of people where there was always somebody there. I hardly ever was by myself when I was living in my parents' home. That was rare. Because my mom, like I said, my mom was an extrovert, but she started to stay home more because she was a nurturer and a babysitter and blah, blah, blah. My dad was the provider for all of us. So I loved it when I got out on my own. It was just me. I loved it. And then also when I was able to read these massive amount of books and then bring in a lot more knowledge to myself. But like I said, with the group, you can meet some fabulous people in a group if you are light-minded and you're being honest about your intentions and you're being honest about your purpose, and you're not coming in and attempting to manipulate people. And I think regardless, I think anyone that has the true intentions and the right intentions are going to meet the right people. And I have all throughout my life. I've had some sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissistics. I think we all will, because of the amount of people and the amount of that type of energy that's unfortunately swirling around in our environment. But for the most part, I would say 90% of the people I met were decent people. Decent. I felt, we may not have connected on the level I'm seeking or was seeking, but we made the right connections. And that's what happens with people that come in your life. You're making the right connections with them. So I was, like I said, I'm satisfied that, the right type of people came in my life and helped me to develop myself. Now, at my age now, like I said, I don't have an issue at all being by myself. But I do want the intimacy and that kind of companionship, which I will have. But other than that, I don't really need anything else. Okay? And I said this a while ago too. If I can't be with the one that I'm aligned with, I am so happy to not be with anyone. That's the level of comfort I've come to accept in my life. And I don't see anything that I need to be concerned about. I know how to socialize when I need to socialize. If I need to go out and do this and that and the other, I know how to do that. But there's no desperation. There's no need to have somebody in my life. That's the point I'm making. And I'm just using myself as an example. by the way. Doesn't mean that is my situation. Okay, just make that clear about, my personal life. I'm just giving you the examples of how I developed and how I became comfortable in my own shoes, as they say, in my own presence. And a lot of people cannot be by themselves. And I know some people, they're always having to be out and socializing, which is fine. But then at some point, if you choose to, you're going to need to know what it means to have some alone time and know that that's necessary, whether you're with somebody or not. And make sure, because you need to make sure that's not a loneliness situation that you need to resolve. Because if you're lonely, that is not going to matter if somebody's there or not. I've said that numerous times. And that has to be resolved. What is that about? So, yes, I see value in groups. I really do. I like some of these online groups. They appear to have good quality people in some of these groups. Everything just has to be clear and effective up front as to what you want and what you will not tolerate. Okay, because there are people that, unfortunately, are going to play games too. They're going to make their way into groups as well, especially as if you get larger and larger and larger. You're going to have people that just coming in and not being honest about their intentions. And so you just have to figure that out right away. Because, I've known many groups that have started out fantastically, but then they crashed and burned because it was just, there were monitors or moderators, but they, what can a moderator do when they got 100 people, 200? A moderator can only do so much. And then if you have administrators, they can only do so much. And then on top of that, you just really online, unfortunately, or maybe it's everywhere. You just don't know what someone's intentions are. You don't know if they're coming in there being genuine, that they want to meet people, or they were coming in there to manipulate and scam them. Those are the things that we are faced with, and unfortunately, we cannot get rid of. And I don't see it ending anytime soon. But anyway, I know I know I'm in dark now, but that's what's happening on the West Coast. It gets dark around, it's like 5, almost 6 o'clock, right? That's what it looks like. And it's dark outside. So that's the nature of what it's like over here on the West Coast. It gets dark really, around this time when the time change. I don't have an issue with it. Because what I'm about to do is start doing what I do, doing some reading, relaxing, enjoying my evening. And, I'm just trying to fix those curtains. Yeah, I'm relaxing, enjoying my evening, minding my business, me and mine, worrying about me and mine, and making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And enjoying the moments and enjoying talking to you guys, to anybody that's listening to me. I enjoy putting out some content for you. It's for you to consider or just swipe, and move on with. But I know that I have the audience that's supporting me. And like I said, you don't have to say a word. But I hope to meet you face to face, once I get my nonprofit going, where we can discuss things more and make sure we're in a safe place in doing so. I mean, the internet, we know what the internet is filled with. And it's a lot of monitoring and surveillance and this and that and the other. And it's not that that's an issue per se, but it's unnecessary when people are attempting to build relationships with each other. That's a positive and beautiful thing, without all the interference and all the targeting and the attempt to break people up, all because they want to reconnect with each other and build the proper interpersonal relationship. So I want to help in doing so. So I can't wait to meet some of you. And again, I appreciate your following me, silently supporting me. And so, and I do this out of love. I do it out of universal love. And so once you see me face to face, and you'll pick up my energy and understand that I am genuine and original. So I appreciate you coming along. I'm going ahead and send peace and love all over the stars and moon and mountains. And trust me, I'll be back.